everyone, welcome to the Stationary Writer. Today I'm here doing a little video on Plotter. Today I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview on how I've been using the Plotter Personal/Bible Size for about 2 months now, and talk about why I will not be continuing to use it. So I think we'll just start right away with kind of just a flip through of the setup that I've been using. So this is the Shiranami blue leather that they kind of just came out with the past month or so, I think. And that's probably partially to blame for why I decided to jump in on this. I had previously been testing out a personal ring setup in a Da Vinci cover, so I didn't just willy-nilly jump into rings because of Shiranami blue, but I was liking the setup at the time, and I really liked the blue leather cover, so I went for it. It is very beautiful. No complaints about the cover or the leather. It is, to me, one of their best leather options, to be honest, because I've tried the shrink, and I had originally ordered one of the the teal Licio colors, but I wound up sending it back because I didn't think it was in very good condition. It had what looked like very real tearing and almost a hole going through the leather, but I kind of keep getting that that's the natural difference in leather and blah blah blah. But I mean, I didn't really feel like that was the case. I have a lot of different leather pen cases and TN covers and stuff like that, and this was not good. So I sent that one back. But so the only Plotter leather I've never actually held is the I know I'm forgetting what it's called. The one that's kind of rough and textured. Sorry, I can't remember. Anyway, so I definitely recommend, if you are going to go with Plotter, this one is beautiful. It's very good. It's kind of, they have their own story, but it's, supposed to be blue waves, and it's kind of an indigo dyeing technique. So it is very beautiful. So let's just take a look. I've got a little Midori Asano you call it memo pad that I kind of made a little decoration at the front for. So the way I set mine up is in 3 different sections. I have plan, log, and notes. So plan is pretty obvious, planning. So I was using monthly calendars, and these are actually from Da Vinci. I couldn't, it was too late in the year to get the actual Plotter ones, which I actually thought these were pretty good. It's like a bamboo paper, and it's actually quite nice, and it handles the fountain pens well. So monthly calendar, and then I was also using weeklies. Again, these are from Da Vinci, but they have a lot of extra pages. I was adding I like just the blank memo, so I was having to add that in. And this was another thing. I wound up just starting to draw my own because I didn't really like any of the weeklies that I could find available. And we might talk about that later in the cons section. But anyway, so that's, and this is a layout that I've used a lot. I was using the Hobonichi Weeks prior. So really nothing legendary here. I was testing out some of, they have the to-do list inserts. So I was kind of using those as almost like a project kind of thing. And then this is where I do this is my system for health tracking. So I use colored dots to track symptoms that I have, and a little line chart for energy, and then just extra notes. And this is something you can do in I kind of started doing it in the a TN book originally, but most of these books have, I'll show you what I mean. Most of these planners have a yearly overview section that looks like this, and that was kind of how I started my system for health tracking, and it's just really worked well for me, so I've kind of stuck with it. So then next I have the log section, and for me this is, I have been very much doing, I guess a part of my system has been, for about as long as I can remember, bullet journal style daily logs. I hesitate, they're not like true bullet journal daily logs, because I think he really like encourages you to be concise and short, but it is along that lines. I like to keep track of things that are happening that day, things that I'm doing, what I've eaten, just that kind of stuff, and to-dos. So this is what I've been doing in the log section, and this is something I've been doing across, you know, whichever setup I use. And even before I got, you know, bullet journaling was kind of my gateway to this community, as I started bullet journaling. So that's how I've been using these pages. And I have this little Da Vinci bookmark, which is nice for marking the page you're on. I like that I mean, you can put it each way, but I like on the bottom to just be able to flip right to the page you're on, so that was nice. And these are, I guess I should mention these. If you don't know, these are Himikuri calendar stickers. So you get one of these, it stands up on your desk, and it has a year's worth of little date stickers. And I actually love these. They're super fun to just either with daily logs like this, or in your TN or your journal or whatever, if you don't have, you know, a predated one, to stick those in. They have a lot of different themes. So those are cool. Okay, and then the last section is notes. So for me, I do commonplacing has become another kind of loaded word like bullet journaling, but I do commonplacing, which for me is, you know, a set of different kinds of notes that I will take, and I do use a tagging system, and for me it's usually reading notes, book notes. You know, I do creative writing, so if I want to just jot down a little story idea, or you know, I just have some little character sketch or something that I want to write down quickly, that's what I will do. And I think something that drew me to the rings in terms of my commonplacing is that I can draw ugly things if I need to. And I can toss it away, and it doesn't have to be a part of my commonplace book, which, you know, there's two theories on that. One is you should keep all of it because it's your creativity. The other is you want to have something that looks nice to flip through, and you want to throw away the ugly stuff. So I guess it can go either way. So I was kind of experimenting with having like a margin while I take notes. And, you know, commonplacing has a very long history. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And some people embrace the commonplace book as a little more of a, almost combined with a journal. So it's kind of, the term commonplace is starting and has, I think, morphed to be a little bit more of the everyday commonplace experience, as well as, you know, like its very first origins were just like copied text, like of something students would do. And this is my, you know, this is my first tag, which is you're collecting quotes, snippets from books, artifacts that are, you know, either teaching you something or you find inspiring. And it's kind of morphed to become more personal with your own thoughts going alongside that stuff. And that's kind of where I'm at with that. And then I did have also the plotter bookmark, which is kind of nice. Kind of like a pencil board, but also a bookmark. And then I was experimenting with so Plotter makes these project dividers, which, like, I don't know, to me, when I looked at them on the website and you see them, they seem very brilliant, but ultimately I find them kind of annoying. Because I guess if you're keeping things that you're not going to keep writing on, maybe it makes sense, but like this little flap is like, if you're going to try and open the stuff that's in this and add to it, it becomes very difficult. And obviously adding this folder adds more bulk, takes more space. So I think that's gonna probably lead into, like, if I had to summarize Plotter in one sentence, it would be that every aspect of it seems brilliant when you look at it on the website, but then when you use it, it just kind of flops. That feels a little spicy to say, but that's going to be a recurring theme in all of my cons and complaints of the system. So, you know, before I get into, you know, dunking it, I guess, which I'd like to preface that I'm not trying to make this a Plotter ruiner video. I think there are plenty of merits to the system. I'm sure it works well for people. I personally really wanted to record this video because I felt like when I was researching getting into Plotter, a lot of what you find is like unboxings and just people like showing the product, but I feel like I can't find a ton of content about actually using it. And maybe that's a red flag, but or maybe I'm not looking in the right places, but in my experience, there's far more unboxing videos than there are look how useful my Plotter is every day for the past year. So yes, that's my spicy take. And so I wanted to make sure that I put a video out there that really shows kind of some of the nitty-gritty of using the system, and that may wind up being a little bit of a dunking episode, but I hope, it really is just, you can take the information and apply it to your own situation, and it might work for you and it might not. Anyway, pros of the system and things that drew me to it. I wanted something that could, I have a lot of different interests and things that I want to do, right? For some people, they just pick up a planner and that's like the thing that they do and they're good with that. But for me, I'm like, oh, I like to Commonplace. I have my creative writing. I like, journaling and daily logging and planning. And I was like, finding myself with these like convoluted, like, oh, I have my TN plus my weeks and it's chunky. And so like rings drew me as something that could be all the stuff I want in one and a very compact and somewhat portable package. I've previously been using like a Passport TN pretty heavily because it's so easy to take along with you. And, I feel like this was a pretty good compromise in there, just to show you. And I will do a lot of, size comparisons for you, so you can kind of see compared to other things how the size looks. But like, so here's a Passport TN. So you're in that pocketable territory here still, just, kind of right at the edge, at least for women. We don't get big pockets, but to me, you're right on the edge of pocketable, not too much bigger than a phone, right? So it's very easy to carry around for sure. And let me grab, and just, another quick comparison is, so like here's your Hobony 2 weeks, and here's your standard TN. And here, oh, I moved the wrong thing. And then here's an A6, so, pretty close to A6 size, most of all, I would say. So, that's a little bit of your size comparison. So yes, and that was one of the things that I found appealing, is you have a lot of stuff in one notebook and a good compact package. The next is, when I started, the idea of being able to move pages around was appealing. I say was, and I think that will lead into something I'll talk about later, but maybe not, with planning, it's like, well, do you really need to carry around a whole year's worth of pages once they're filled in? Probably not. It really just depends. If you are referencing things that happened, maybe, but the idea that like, okay, I filled in a month of weeklies, let's take those out, and not have to carry them around all the time. And same thing with the dailies, right? You're like, okay, I don't need to carry 6 months worth of daily logs with me, right? Let's take those out. And again, same thing with your commonplace notes. You're like, okay, let's take some out. And so all of this logic would be great if there was a good method for archiving, and that is going to be one of the big things we get to. So yeah, and I guess, I mean, the last con is that this is very aesthetic looking. I mean, I think all of us can admit that we are swayed by aesthetic. You know, whether you find, you know, the artist covers for Hobonichi appealing, those are a big draw. If you find Traveler's Notebooks aesthetic appealing, you're drawn to that, right? You know, I have the unlucky circumstance of being drawn to all of it. So, you know, Plotter does have a good aesthetic. Their products look nice. And so that's going to be the one thing to, like, caution you on, I guess, is like, okay, that's fine to like the aesthetic, but make sure you look a little deeper than that before you jump in. So anyway, I guess we'll go ahead and jump into some of my complaints. I was kind of already leading into it, and it really is probably my biggest reason I won't keep using it, which is archiving. So for me, and I mean, I think for most of us in this community, we want to keep the pages that we fill with stuff, with pieces of our lives, with journaling or whatever it is. We want to be able to look back on those. And, you know, I say for me especially, the commonplacing is something I want, you know, part of why I do it is, you know, for the purpose of creativity and for learning new things. And that's why I'm okay with blending writing in with that practice, is because I think it's all connected in a creative way. And, you know, and so just as an example, what that looks like in, you know, like a TN or a bound book is, this is kind of what it looks like. So to me, this practice also creates, it's like, it's a practice of collecting artifacts and things that are interesting and beautiful, but it also creates an artifact, something that is interesting and beautiful to look back through. And it can be, you know, it can inspire creativity, give you ideas. And I can't find a way to really make that happen with my plotter sheets. So I'm sure that if I wanted to learn bookbinding, maybe I could take all my sheets at the end of the year and try and bind them into something. But that is a year-long wait to have something in a bound form, first of all. You know, I can't, you know, you have to collect all the pages first, right? Even, I mean, this book right here I've probably been working on most of this year, and it's only half full, so you know, that's a weight on having something you can look back on. So you're like, okay, what do you do with the pages in the meantime? And the answer is not much. You have about 2 options. I've dug pretty deeply on the internet, and you can use the standard thing that Plotter has created to be their archive book, which is this binder thingy. Which, you know, on the outside you're like, yay, this will look good on a shelf and yada yada. But instead of just putting larger rings in this for you to put your stuff in, and I don't know why, open again, you get the fast food ordering sheet stick to being a little dramatic here, but yeah, you get 2 rods that you would just stack all of your sheets you're done with into. And this is not create something that you can really, you know, flip through. It's more of a, like, storage, I guess. I don't understand the logic here, to be honest. This is a product I actually hate. It makes me mad. So yeah, I don't know what the logic here was, and you know, this costs a pretty, like, $30 or something like excessive like that. It's pretty stupid. So yeah, this is the Plotter provided option for archiving your pages. You know, lame. The only other thing that I've really been able to figure out how to do is to find something with bigger rings, you know, a book to put it in. And, you know, there's not a lot of options, partially because of the size. I think, like, if you do use A5, I was able to find nicer 6-ring binders that you could archive in. But in this personal Bible size, I mean, about all I could find is just these plastic things. And you could probably decorate it, make it look nice, but to me, this isn't really a pleasant way of archiving. You know, it could be me being too picky, but, and so this is really your option. If you're okay with this as an archive, if you're okay with this being the thing you flip back through, then you might be okay. But ultimately, I don't find this appealing. I don't like how it looks on the shelf. I don't want to have to do a ton of work to make something appealing, right? Like with you know, with Travelers, they have their little binder and you can stick your inserts in it and it looks nice and you put it on your shelf and that's it. And you can level it up by putting stickers on it if you want, but it doesn't feel necessary. You know, it looks okay as it is. And I guess if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll show you. So this is what Travelers has for their inserts. And again, you can put a simple sticker and it does add to it, but the thing on its own, perfectly nice looking, and it just has these rods, these metal rods, and you can fit about 5, might even, yeah, this is the max. So yeah, so you can fit your books in here, and this is, as it is, you can flip through it pretty easily, and you can also just pop them out with the little rod if you wanted to take the book out. So, I mean, to me, this is a nice way of archiving. So yeah, so archiving, really one of my biggest reasons for not continuing to use Plotter. I think that's all I have to say about that. Yeah. I think, yeah, I was thinking about this. I think some people would say, like, oh, this is designed to be part of the archive process. But I don't know what that really adds. I mean, I guess you have things divided, but you would still have to, like, take layers out of your stick thing to get to this if you use their thing. So that, to me, that doesn't add much. So yeah, I think the next thing I will talk about is just, this is kind of a daily functional thing that irritated me as well. So, you know, it is marketed as small rings. I think, what do we call this? Like micro rings or something like that. And the pros and cons of having the smaller rings is, and this is why I was even willing to try rings in the first place, is because they're small, they don't get in the way while you're writing. You can easily write with these ring size. If you have something like this, this is annoying. You're not going to want to write in this regularly throughout the day. So, and to me, that's the only thing that even made this a possibility, is you're like, okay, it won't be annoying to write with. The con of that is, of course, you can hold less. I think they advertise that you should be able to fit 80 sheets of paper in here. Which I don't know if I'm even at that yet. I might be close. I probably am. To me, I mean, I guess most of these Travelers inserts are 80 pages, so, you know, that's about the space you're working with. Maybe the end result is that is just not enough pages for me to have on me, but what I found is that it starts to feel like it's too full very quickly. And I guess if you don't have, you know, if you take something out here of what if you don't do planner pages, you don't have weeklies, you don't do Commonplacing, whatever that is, you might be able to fit in that smaller context. But ultimately, it was getting too full too quick. And what happens when it gets too full too quick is your pages get stuck, they don't turn properly, you're going to be at risk of ripping them. When you get to the back side, it's like, you know, this stuff doesn't, when you start to stack up on the, you know, on the back side, it's like you're just crinkling pages, and it's not good. You know, again, these could be nitpicky things, right? Maybe some people wouldn't be bothered by the pages sticking. I think it ultimately becomes, you know, it's annoying to turn the pages. If you rip something, then you're even more of a pickle of archiving that page. What are you going to do? You're going to rewrite it? You're going to throw it out? If it's important, you need to keep it, right? So, like, you know, again, super annoying. And I just don't feel like this is that much here. Another thing that kind of goes along with this issue is that if you're looking for inserts to use in this book, you might find yourself in a pickle if you use anything other than plotters, because two reasons. The first is that they use their DP paper, and it's very similar to Tomori River paper. It's a very thin paper. So if you can find Tomori River paper inserts that are not plotter, you would be okay, but spoiler, there's not a lot to choose from for that. And I'll just show you. So their stuff comes in these little, like, you know, red memo pads, and the paper is very thin. And that's when they quote you 80 pages to hold, they're saying 80 of their very thin paper. So if you put in their ruler, if you put in a, you know, a thicker cardstock divider, or if you put in any accessories, right, you're bulking it up way beyond that single sheet of DP paper. I was able to find like Tomori River paper through Good Impressions, and I was using that mostly. And this was the example I'm going to show, is that if you do try to order from other places that make inserts, you're going to run into two problems. So, like, I ordered these from 8 Lotus, and they're very pretty, like, inserts. I was really bummed to not be able to use them. But what happens is, one, it's thicker paper, so you're bulking up faster, and two, I think when most of these other shops design these, they're thinking of, like, Filofax or larger ring binders. So where they punch the holes leaves a little too much space, I guess, in comparison to how I don't even know what the real reason is, but ultimately they don't fit quite the same as the other inserts. And they will have that same struggling to turn, flip the page kind of thing. And I guess that's just something about not being, maybe it's the smaller rings, or because plotter maybe is slightly unique. Whatever Bible size is maybe not quite Filofax comparison size, and that's what these companies are using. So yes, if you are going to use the system, I would be wary or cautious about ordering inserts from other places, because they're going to be thick paper, they're going to bulk it up too much, and they may not fit in the rings very well. So that really limits your options. And in terms of, like, what I was talking about earlier with options, I'll just go ahead and show you. Again, you're kind of confined to the stuff they have, which, you know, they don't even have, like, in terms of just regular paper, they only have this super tiny grid. Like, you can't even get a standard 4mm grid paper from them. Actually, yeah, see this grid here that's in the background of this? That is the grid they offer in their paper, and they have a dot grid. But if you want, like, a regular 4mm grid, they don't offer that in their own paper. Like I said, I had to order this from Good Impressions. It's Tomori River paper. But, so yes, you are kind of limited. And, you know, this is another annoyance for me. I'm going to show you what these look like so you can really see, because I'm not a fan of their planner inserts either. And I know a lot of people are going to want to use planner inserts with this system. I just think that their designs for their planner inserts are very cluttered, very crammed, and I don't want to say they're not thought out. I think they're over thought out is really what it comes down to. Is like they wanted to include too much. Like they kind of have a predefined to-do list up here. I really, really hate that Saturday and Sunday are smushed together. I know they were trying to make bigger overall boxes, but I mean, I feel like I have more stuff on the weekend than the week half the time. What am I supposed to do with this? What are all these numbers along the side? Chinese characters are, I don't even mind the Japanese Chinese characters because I know they are ultimately a Japanese company. I do not know what these lines are. So yeah, and that is kind of, that sentiment is going to be repeated on the weeklies. I'll show you. Which is like, they have this weird timeline thing. And maybe this is, maybe there's something that I'm missing here. I don't know. Maybe this is something that's popular in Japan. But I would have preferred just a blank memo on the side. And sure, you could ignore these lines and still do stuff on the right. But again, what are all these numbers? The timeline thing is weird to me. Maybe some people find that useful, but I just don't like all the visual clutter that exists on these pages. So these are a bummer. If you want if you want planner pages in your plotter, it's going to be this. It's going to be drawing your own, or you're going to have to, dig around to find, like I said, there's the Reime Da Vinci does make some stuff, and some other stuff is Tomoe River paper, some of it's not. So you're going to find yourself in a rabbit hole just finding something that you like to use for planning if you don't use the plotter standard, if you don't like this. So to me, that was a con. And so that does lead into another thing that I want to talk about, which to me is a con of this system. Expensive. And, that's fine. It might be, maybe this is a luxury planning product. But yes, the covers are very expensive. I get it. It's high quality leather, yada yada. To me, even a TN is a little overpriced for what it is, but these are way beyond that. So very expensive, and again, leading into the issue with different inserts, right? I think that all of the little accessories really add up to an excessive amount, and you're like, oh, you gotta have the ring buffer so you don't get the ring marks in your leather, the leather that you paid a lot for. But I guess some people like the ring marks. I do not. And again, if you're kind of stuck with their inserts, you can only buy their inserts, or if you're buying other inserts to try and they don't work out, that adds up. I will say that I think that, I think the price for a standard dot grid insert is maybe $7. I actually don't think that's too bad because, 80 sheets, and again, the TN notebooks I think are 80 sheets, and those are about $12 for an insert. So their actual inserts are maybe a little more affordable comparatively to other systems, but considering you're confined only to them and the cost of entry for the system is quite high, still overall very expensive system. So to me, that's an overall con. That's going to probably push most people away anyway. If you still want something very high quality and luxury, I think that's fine. That is what you will get here. But I'd say make sure you're really ready for the ring system before you spend that much. So I think the last thing I want to talk about is just the overall page size. So this was a new paper page size for me. Like I said, I've used Weeks, I've used Passport and regular TN A6. I was really hoping that this would be like a good like compromise between, you know, wanting the Passport for portability but really it's too small, and the standard TN that's like a little on the bigger side. Ultimately what I found is, for me personally, I don't think this page size is big enough to do most of the things that I'd like to do. My big example is like some book notes that I did. You know, it's okay. You can make it work. I'm just saying, for me, I don't think this page size is ultimately my favorite. And part of that is because you lose so much space for your ring holes. Like, you can't really write over here. And so the amount of space that you actually wind up having to write, and this is kind of what I wanted to compare, is, you know, not a lot. And I think the weeks is a good comparison to make, because they both are kind of narrow sheet size. But like, by the time you take away the area that you have for the holes, it's not even as much as a weeks page, which is quite narrow and small. I do see people use it still for a lot of things, even Commonplace books, but yeah, ultimately it winds up being a pretty small writing space. Let me see. Your standard TN. And, you know, for me, I think that, you know, it was on the edge of being able to work for me, but if you want to do any kind of notes with margins, I think it starts to get a little too small if you're going to have margins. And for any long form writing, it also, I think, just doesn't really work out. So, you know, maybe I went into this system that really wasn't designed for me. I'm starting to think that Plotter is most ideal for people that are like just sketching ideas and taking notes at work or whatever, and they're creating pages that they're gonna dispose of, right? Okay, so I showed A6, TN, weeks, where'd the Passport go? And I think that was ultimately one of the things I wanted to highlight, which is you don't even wind up getting that much more space than you would in a Passport. By the time you take the ring area away, you're at the same width as a Passport. And you get a little more, you know, you get maybe a paragraph up top. So, so that's my thoughts about the page size. Ultimately not my favorite, but it is still possible to make it work. Okay, one last thing I did get, and I'll show this just because it's kind of a newer accessory. I had gotten the zipper pouch. So I will show you what that looks like in here. I didn't really wind up using it because I was already kind of feeling done with it by the time it showed up. But, excuse me. I think this stupid zipper pouch just, again, epitomizes like what I think about Plotter, which is like, why did you make it this way? So first of all, to put it in, I have to take everything out, which is fine. I don't know why they went with 2 zipper pouches instead of like, you know, just maybe a sleeve on the front side and a zipper in the back. Maybe I'm being snarky for no reason. Maybe this is smart and other people think it's smart. But I don't. I would have loved to just have, you know, just a sleeve. I don't know how to illustrate what I'm talking about. I think most people know what I'm talking about. Like the TN has this accessory where you get a zipper pouch on the back, and it's like a folder. You can stick stickers or ephemera or pages in the front if it's their pencil boards in the front, right? That, to me, that is a very smart accessory. This could have been that, and it's not. But we'll look at it. And, you know, this is another one of those things where it's going to take up more space in your already slim system. And I'm not even going to put all the stuff back in, just half. So that's what that looks like. I don't know if it's supposed to stay back here. Yeah, I guess it is. And so that's what that looks like. And I guess let's stuff some things in it. I don't know if you're meant to put pens in here. I don't know what they thought we were doing with 2 zipper pouches. And you know, I mean, that seems like okay to me. I don't think you'd want to write with it there, though. Yeah, you can have bumps if you try to write with it there. I do like the quality of the zippers and the pouch, which you know, that's the only thing Plotter has down really well is they make things that are very good quality. They're just not necessarily sensical. So that's what that looks like with some things stuffed in it. And again, like, okay, they thought to put the zippers on 2 separate sides, like over-engineered, but not solving the problem. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's everything I wanted to share with you about my little experiment with Plotter Bible size. If you have any questions about this or my experience with this, definitely let me know in the comments. And I hope I wasn't too spicy with my takes on Plotter. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.